Hi, it's Karen of Casey Appraisals. Um, I'm so glad that you're wanting to hear about the four C's of diamonds. Or is it the five C's? We'll find out before the end of this presentation. This presentation is done in order to try and help you find ways of talking to your clients. Or maybe it's to help you research diamonds yourself and figure out what we're talking about when we are talking about the four C's. The diamond, as we know, is the hardest mineral. It's 10 on most mineral scale of hardness, but that's not what fascinates us. It is the brilliance of a diamond. That's what draws us in. The sparkle, the twinkle. Um, we, uh, we know there are various systems for grading diamonds, but they are all based on what we call the four C's. I like to say there is the fifth C because cost does come into play whether you're buying or selling a diamond. However, the cost is usually based on what we find about the four C's. So let's discuss those a little bit. We have clarity, we have cut, we have carat weight, and we have color. We're going to start by talking about the cut of a diamond. How do you approach the four C's when you're talking or trying to understand them? We can be very technical, and that's great if you're working in the industry and you've got to grade diamonds or appraise them. But what if you're just looking to try and sell them or you're looking to buy them? How do you paint a picture in your mind of what these technical terms mean when you're not able to stand there and compare one on one on one on one? It is to paint a virtual picture in your mind by using different analogies or stories. So I've created these a few stories to give you ideas of how you might approach this in your own mind. Now, in the diamond world, when we refer to cut, it may mean the style of cut. Is it a round brilliant? Is it a princess? Is it an emerald cut? Is it a marquise shape? Is it a pear shape? Etc., etc. But more often than not, it actually refers to how well a diamond's cut. So in other words, the cut grade. And that can be hard to try and describe to someone what happens when the diamond is cut really well or not cut well at all. And so this is where we have a picture to paint in their minds. So my picture to you is, think of a door. Okay, so what does the door have to do with the cut of a diamond? Well, think of it this way. We term diamond cuts as ideal, excellent, very good, good, fair, or poor. Well, an excellent door and door frame would be one that opens and closes really well. No problems with it. There's no light leakage. There's no stickiness. It looks straight. It's ideal. It's what you want your door to look like. The same would be for the diamond. It's been cut. There's nothing wrong. It's ideal. But then we have diamonds that are excellent cut. So what would be the difference? Well, our door still opens and closes just fine, no problem at all. But now maybe we're getting just a little bit of light coming under the bottom of the door. So it's not quite ideal, but still excellent. Okay, so we're good, but maybe a very good cut. How do we explain that with a door? Well, the door still is opening and closing. It's still working properly. But we now see light around the door, the frame, etc. It's just not fitting quite the way we know it's supposed to. But it's still working. So on to what is good. Well, good would be, yeah, the door is opening and closing, but it's sticking a bit. Maybe not quite straight when we look at it. There's something off about it. Just not showing us its best look. When we get down to fair, we have some real issues with how the door is working. Most of the time it works, but not always. Sometimes it won't stay shut, sometimes it won't open. We're definitely showing out of proportion somewhere. And poor, well, the door doesn't even close anymore or open. Or it just, it's just crooked, it's out of proportion. And if you think of it, that's exactly what happens when you're cutting a diamond. If your proportions are not correct, it looks out. It's just a little odd. And so the analogy of the door is a very good way to help you have either yourself or, if you run a store, a client understand what a diamond cut should be. No light leakage, no proportions out of sync, everything in symmetry. That's an excellent cut. So, what about we think of how are we going to do color? Well, color comes in a few different ways. In a yellow, the scale that we see quite often in around brilliant colorless, it is a scale from D down to Z. Anything below R is considered light yellow, light fancy yellow, and just keeps going a little bit more intense. In the colorless grade, we see it as a lack of yellow. And when you have the lack of yellow, that's the best in a colorless stone. But how do you explain the variation grading in colorless? Well, if we think of a mirror that's reflecting the light and it's bright and it's beautiful, then we're seeing all of the best properties of a colorless stone. But as the mirror gets dirty, and it gradually gets dirty, very gradually, you don't really notice it to start with, until all of a sudden there's no light. The mirror is dull. It's got a little bit of interference in the light coming back because of the color. If you think of that as yellow rather than dirt, then when you see gradually the color intensifying in yellows, that's what happens on the scale of the colorless. It goes from totally colorless down to J, which is where our eye starts seeing the yellow. It's gradual. It's not intense. It just gradually, we get that as graders, we can see it. But usually by the time you're down in around the JKL, most people can see the yellow with their eye. So that's how you paint the analogy. You may think of a better way, and that's okay. These are just stories to get your mind thinking in a different way about how to describe diamonds. Well, let's go to the big one that people think about, and that's the clarity. How do you describe the difference in clarity? Well, what about a nice moonlit pond? That moonlit pond is like a clear sheet of glass. It's absolutely beautiful. There's nothing moving. It's just stunning. Well, that would be a flawless diamond. It's beautiful. There's nothing going on. However, what if you look close and you see maybe a rock that just breaks the edge of the surface of the pond? That would be and internally flawless. Now as we're sitting there and we're staring really hard and we're looking at this pond and it's beautiful, and we've brought our magnifiers, we've brought binoculars in order to really take a look around because it's a beautiful moonlight night. And over in the corner is that bubble you see? Is that a fish? Air bubbles coming up? Oh, it's really hard to tell. It's really hard to see. Well, now we're looking at a VVS diamond. Very, very hard to see, even as someone that is qualified to see it. Oh, we see another bubble. We see another fish. And we're seeing a couple of little spots. But they're still pretty hard. We have to keep looking. Well, now we're down into a VS range of stones. They are a little bit easier, but still under magnification, we have to take a look. So now our beautiful pond is beginning to show us a little bit more. And we see a rock in the center of the pond. Didn't notice it before, but it's there. And we do see the fish off to the side. Well, that's now sort of coming down into the SI stones. Sometimes easy to see with the eye, sometimes not. If it's easy to see with the eye, usually it means it's an SI too. There may be dark inclusions that we're seeing. Now, as we look at this is all nature. This is natural incurrences happening. This is not a bad thing. This is nature. This is what diamonds have. Natural growth features within them. Okay, so what about the eye stones? Well, you know what? We have our little fish, and they've got some more friends who are jumping in the water, making lots of ripples, and we see the fish swimming around. Oh, and we might have a turtle there too. Well, now you've got lots of nature. Nature has come and it's teeming. The pond is filled with nature. It's still glorious, but it's not that calm, quiet, clear reflection we were seeing. And this is what eye stones are. Not quite as clear and calm as we would normally think of when we think of a diamond. So how does all of this affect the cost? And which property is the most important? In diamond, colorless variety, the least amount of color, the least amount of inclusions, the best cut, and the biggest carat weight will add dollars. And we didn't discuss carat weight too much because carat weight is simply weighing the stone on a scale, and this is what it weighs. So not a big analogy that you have to think of. But so what is our best property? What is the most important? Well, you know what? It's a choice. It is based on the knowledge that you have, and with these analogies, that helps show that you may be able to give and take in criteria in different areas and still have a wonderful, sparkling, twinkling diamond at a price that is reasonable to you or your client. So decide what is the most important of the 4 C's and have fun with your diamond. Enjoy them. I hope you enjoyed this presentation, and thank you.